Welcome to Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Now, here are your hosts, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler.
Well, good morning here on Inside the Game number 193. I'm Jonathan Turner. That's Nathan Wangler and Ryan Glinsky, our producer. I'm still here in Tampa Bay this morning after being here for business yesterday, but more importantly, being at the U.S. men's national team game last night. Talk about a dominant win. We'll get into kind of like the whole day yesterday, but I'm sitting there yesterday between two U.S. soccer executives, and we're talking about this game. And as goals are going in buckets, we're going, this game could be like 9-0. we're like this game could get out of hand. It just is unbelievable experience, unbelievable game. A lot to get to this morning. But Nathan, man, how are you doing back in cold Michigan?
First of all, thanks a lot for that one. You had to work that into the mix. No, it's feeling all right, but no, that was the vibe, especially in that first half. That was the vibe that this might end up being like a 10-0 game when all is said and done. And it's just because of how loose and how free and how easy that team played. And that was a shocker last night. I mean, I know they had a little run going into it, and I think everyone was kind of the mindset that it wouldn't come to a screeching halt. I mean, I expected a good game from this side. I expected them to put up a fight, the U.S. men's national team, and if anything, maybe just squeak out a win. I think I picked them to finish 2-1. I think that was my prediction if I got to look back at it. But I don't think anyone in their right mind expected what we saw last night. And there's so many big takeaways from it, too, especially when you consider, and this was something that I mentioned, you got the souvenir cup. Nice.
Tristan Wirfs
yeah.
on it. Okay.
They didn't have specialty cups for the soccer game they were having that day.
No, they don't. No.
Just handing out the Buccaneer cups. That's great. But no, man, yeah, and we'll get to it in a little bit. I think that's arguably the best win of this generation's time on the international team. I think it has to be one of, if not the best win for them. So lot to uncover, lot to unpack with that.
No, absolutely. I had a chance to visit, obviously, Raymond James Stadium yesterday, home of the Buccaneers. That stadium, in its own right, is unique. It was. I haven't been to a lot of outdoor stadiums in recent years, right? Mainly, obviously going to Comerica Park, but outside of that, you think about football stadiums, right? The big ones. A lot of the ones in the Midwest are all indoors, and so I haven't had a chance to be in an environment like that in a long time. So that was kind of a fun experience. Being in that environment with I don't know what they call it in the end zone where the actual ship is, but that it's a really cool environment. So we'll talk about that this morning. It's got to be all U.S. men's national team today. I don't know what you could talk about. They ended the year with a bang, and again they did it with some unlikely goal scorers, right? You talk about what happened. Berhalter getting his first ever international goal yesterday, right? Doing so, and that was an unbelievable strike from him, unbelievable finish. You had Alex Freeman, who scored 2 goals yesterday, right? Unbelievable. He had a header, and then he had the Luna. Luna gets involved in the action yesterday. And if we continue to talk about how important Luna is to this team, he, even if you say he's not the highest talented player on this roster, he's finding ways to be relevant in these games. And so, important thing to talk about him. Reyna did get in yesterday. He did not start. I don't know if that's a sign or not. I don't know if that's like, hey, if anything, it's like Diego Luna's here and then Reyna, and then they're swapping out, right? It's like, so I'm curious your guys' thoughts on the fact that Reyna did not start yesterday, but he came in with the 70th minute and played the last 20, and I'm just curious your guys' thoughts on that this morning as well.
He made 9 different changes in the lineup. So, yeah, he switched out a lot of different people. But I guess I can get right into it. I know we're just doing our introductory. But first, Ryan, I'll open the floor to you. I know you did that recap video last night about what your thoughts are on it. But, yeah, there's definitely a lot, like I said, a lot to unpack.
So
no, absolutely. Go ahead.
So, actually, Mekchek is thinking the same exact thing I'm thinking in my theory. He goes, We just need to shit on a few players before each game and we'll win the World Cup. We did that with Berhalter, scores a banger. Did that with Reyna, he scores. And we were talking about Haji right before the Australia game. He scores 2 goals. So all I'm saying is, I think we are the key. The three of us, this show is the key to the U.S. winning the World Cup. And I'm just saying that. Let's just do that. And then, if we go back to when John and I went to the game against Japan, that's when they changed up to this 3-back system. Ever since then, we have not lost a game. I'm just saying, I think we're the keys. In all seriousness, no, it was a great performance. A lot of people that I didn't like the lineups, if I'm being completely honest, right out of the gate. I didn't like it. And they came out victorious. And maybe you could say maybe Uruguay is a little bit tired, maybe jet lagged, whatever it is, because they just got done playing Mexico, then they had to play the U.S., whatever you want to say about that. But in the end of the day, they came out victorious. 5 goals. Like, my dad and I were just sitting there, and we're like, what is going on? And we were like,
well, I was there when you were saying that.
We're like, Uruguay's got to be mailing it in at this point. Like, that's got to be it. But no, great performance all around. Maybe a little bit questionable on the sweatshirt that Pochettino was wearing around his neck. That's probably like the only questionable thing I would say about the whole game. But outside of that, really good performances. I thought Reyna, when he came on, looked good. I thought Luna played well. I thought Alex Freeman, Timothy Tillman. I thought everyone really played well. So other than that, great performance all the way around.
And they were relentless, too, and I love that. Absolutely love that.
No, they absolutely were. Absolutely were. Let's do this. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll dive into this. A lot to get to. You're watching number 193 this morning on Inside the Game.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind.
Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics,
Letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail.
whether it's a championship win or a legendary play.
NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate.
Call 586-304-4405
And start watching today.
Welcome back to the Inside the Game number 193 here on this Wednesday morning, and we're talking U.S. men's national team. I mean, how could you not after what happened yesterday? I think that for me, I want to kind of dive into kind of like my day like yesterday a little bit here, kind of what led to me even being here in the first place. Because to be fair, 2 weeks ago, this was not planned that I'd be going to this game, and it came about last week when I was solidifying my meetings here in Tampa with USL. And so, we've worked with USL, United Soccer League, for years in regards to USL2, USLW, USL Academy. Coming up here in a few weeks, in December, we'll be handling our second run of the US Academy Finals in Bradenton, Florida. And so I was here to discuss those games as well as other opportunities within USL for us to support the league. And so that's why I was here. And last week when we were confirming our agenda, they're like, John, you're coming in on Tuesday. There's a U.S. men's national team game. Why don't we just go to that too? I was like, okay. You don't have to beg me to go to that game. I'll absolutely go to that game. And we talked about this back when I went to my first ever U.S. men's national team game. Like, I mean, I had never gone to an international game until that game against Japan. And I went with Ryan. And now here within, a month and a half, I'm going to my second ever. But this one I'm traveling, 1,000 miles away to go do it. And so yesterday I landed here in Tampa around, I think I landed right around 10:30 So no, 9:30 because actually it was right at the end of the show when you guys when I chimed in and said, "Hey, I landed." And I got to the hotel and my room was not ready, by the way.
Did you
So I
clap when the
couldn't
plane
check in.
landed?
No, I did not clap.
Okay.
Come on now, man. No,
We were wondering.
no clapping. But I got to my hotel at like 10 o'clock or so, and they wouldn't let me check in. They said you can't check in until 1:30. So I sat in the lobby for 2 hours and I worked and got some things done, prepared for my presentation. And then at 2 o'clock, sorry, at 2:30, I headed over. Which my hotel, to put things in perspective, if the hotel is here, and they're here, like literally like right across the street here is where the USL building is. So I live to walk right across, which is great. That's one of the reasons why I picked this hotel. It's also one of the reasons why I didn't pay attention to the actual hotel itself. Maybe when I was making my reservation because I thought, hey, it's so close. Why would USL have a hotel so close to it that was not good? But it's not a good hotel. I was a little fearful last night in my life because it's the walls are paper thin, so you hear everything. There's a sign on basically every door about human trafficking. So I'm thinking I might get trafficked. I'm here. I'm sitting. This is not good. And there's legitimately a strip club in the same parking lot as me. So I'm like, this is not. And it's funny because like everywhere around where I'm at, except for this one parking lot in this hotel, looks super upper middle class. There's like Longhorn Steakhouse, and there's like a Fleming, and then there's a strip club in my hotel. It's like they didn't get the memo. They didn't get the memo. It was funny. I was talking with USL. They're like, John, next time just let us know what hotel you can stay at. We'll recommend one for you. I was like, okay. But we had meetings until about 5. We had meetings till like 5:30 last night, and we got in the car and we made our way over to Raymond James, and it's about 2 miles from where we are. The airport's 2 miles away, and the stadium's 2 miles. So we're like right here, which is really, really cool. Which allowed us to leave like obviously a little bit later than maybe we normally would, and get into the stadium. And it is from the outside looks awesome, and then you get inside. It is a really, really cool stadium to walk into. We had a chance to be in the Hyundai Club, which is like I guess like their club level, but it's you have to have special tickets to get into there, and the food maybe and the options are a little different. And you walk out and it's an unbelievable experience. It wasn't full. I think the stadium seats like 65,000 people. I think they said the capacity yesterday was like 27,000 was the attendance. But it was just an amazing experience. It was I would put it up against any other experience I've ever been a part of that I've gone to as far as like first time being into a stadium and being in that environment. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was, and it's sweet for that team to be able to provide something like that too, and especially against a top 15 team. There were a lot of things that we talk about what this team needed to show us in 2025 heading into the next year, and there were more than a handful of takeaways from this game, but. If you wanted to instill hope in the minds and in the hearts of American fans going into 2026, there really was an understanding that last night had to be not just a win, but something special for this team. They really had to show us something. And again, Ryan had mentioned all the players that are missing and maybe that did not love the lineup of the 11 that we put out there, but they didn't just do that. They made not just one statement, they made several statements. The first of which, I regard this as, and I do believe this is probably the best win for this generation of U.S. men's national team players. I'm talking about Haji Wright, Tanner Tessman, Gio Reyna, Diego Luna, like that crop of players, the golden generation, if you will. It's the first time in 112 years of the sport in the United States that we've ever scored 5 goals on a South American opponent. It's never been done before, especially against the Uruguay team who knocked us. The only time a host country has ever been bounced out of the group stage of a tournament like that, it was us against Uruguay, and they took care of us. So we got our get back for that. But that's the first time ever, 112 years. The other takeaway I had, Sebastian Berhalter may be for real. listen, I get it that there's a little bit of nepotism, and that's hard for us to stomach and look at because we want to just assume that there must be someone better out there, right? Just because he has the last name doesn't mean he should be there. And I said this yesterday on the show, and obviously Ryan heard me. He's an MLS All-Star, but he needs to be an All-Star in the red, white, and blue. But that banger he put in yesterday, not to mention how he's been assisting on a couple of goals too. He might put himself in a spot to actually be on this team because I thought he's had a really good touch on the ball. I thought he's had a really good sense for where he is on the field. He looked really good. I think we have more depth at the international level now than we've ever had in our country's history. And I can go into some of the players that weren't even there last night, and it seems endless. We got a few more here. Number one, last two, I'll get into this. The last one is probably the most interesting in my mind, and we can talk about this. But Mauricio Pochettino has a plan, and maybe, and I'm willing to admit this, maybe we were wrong about him all along. Okay, and that plan right now, at least from what we saw last night, we've seen over the course of the last 5 matches, is working. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, like, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. It's a biblical quote, right? And it's more about, like, service and being kind to one another. But I look at this in the way that Mauricio Pochettino right now is building this program and is building this team and utilizing the different players that we have. We really don't know everything that's going into that, but he kept telling us time and time again to trust the process. We're making progress. Look at what we're doing. And the whole time we wanted to bang the drum about how, well, he's not an American coach, so how does he really know what we need to be successful? Look at what they did in the Nations League and how uninspired they looked, right? They they possessed the ball well. They were moving it around well. They didn't do anything with it. I mean, it was the equivalent of watching paint dry. Now watch what you saw last night against an Uruguay team who's better than Canada, better than Panama, better than any of those other sides. And they dominated them. They possessed the ball well, but they capitalized on those opportunities that they had. I think Mauricio Pochettino might be onto something, and I think we might have jumped the gun a little bit on saying that he's not the guy. Again, a lot still yet to prove. This is just a friendly. But my last point that I'll get into, and again, we can unpack all of this. I'm just rattling them off. These are just my takeaways from yesterday. All right, Major League Soccer. I mean, I guess I didn't understand. I didn't know their game. Alex Freeland with 2 goals. That came out of nowhere. I texted Ryan immediately after that. I'm like, who is Alex Freeland and what is he doing on the field? And why is he scoring multiple goals against the top 15 team in the world? Obviously, Sebastian Berhalter, what we saw to him. Diego Luna, another goal last night. And you're right, with the cultural, emotional impact that he makes on the team. I still think he should be on that World Cup roster. I'm not saying he should be off. All I'm saying is if we're picking between him and Gio, maybe it's an interchanging thing like we saw last night. People scoffed at the idea, absolutely scoffed at the idea of Mauricio Pochettino saying that Major League Soccer is becoming more competitive and that the players that are coming out of Major League Soccer are worthy of a look on this international team. We don't just have to play all of our European players. Did that last night, and boy, did it work out well. And sorry, I'm not taking any of the excuses about Uruguay was tired. I mean, I understand, but you're still a top 15 team. You shouldn't get embarrassed like that. So anyways, those are all my takeaways from it, but just through and through, maybe Major League Soccer's onto something because they showed something last night between Freeland and Berhalter. Even Diego Luna.
Yeah, I think that, and again, we were sitting in the stands last night watching this game, and obviously, there's a shock factor of what was happening, and there's this thing where we talk about sometimes there's a night where a team is on and there's a team that's off. Uruguay was clearly off last night, and not that takes away from the victory that the U.S. men's national team had, because it doesn't. But I think it's an important thing to acknowledge, because just because we won last night in the way that we did doesn't mean that this team is any better off than they were a couple days ago, or what they might look like here in a few weeks. I think we take from this win, we can take from it, which is they had a very dominant performance in a game last night, which we have not seen a ton of over the last year and a half. We've seen wins, we've seen draws, we've seen losses where you say, hey, they should have won that game. We've seen these games where, but I'm looking at moments. Now look at that. We were in the first half. It was almost in stoppage time. close to it, and we give up a goal, right? That bicycle kick, the only goal we give up. But that's going into the halftime break, right? And while that goal might mean nothing in the whole scheme of things, it does mean something because you're talking about going into the locker room and you just give up a goal, right? And what could that have changed something in that second half? It didn't, thankfully. But in a lot of environments, it could absolutely create momentum for another team. And if we don't have a 4-goal or a 3-goal buffer, what does that look like for us? And so I think that's an important thing to acknowledge. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer here because I was at this game and it was an exciting game to be a part of. But I also think it's important to be realistic that while we won last night very decisively, we did so with our B team against a team that was their B team, and also what they understand that they played crappy. Like Uruguay played crap. I was watching as they're diving in for balls that you wouldn't see. Like it seemed like we were doing things that we normally wouldn't be able to do on a soccer field last night with this team. There is no VAR also in these environments, right? And so we start talking about the World Cup, VAR, right? So Berhalter's goal, while it was beautiful, I don't know if that goal stands in a VAR environment. The collision with the goalkeeper, it's going to be reviewed, it's going to be looked at. And so there are things that you can take away from last night's game that can say, okay, this is great. And it's great for our depth. It's great for our team. But I think there's also things you can take away from last night and say, hey, you know what? Would we be okay in the World Cup if we were playing this team the way we played last night? And I don't know if we would be. And so I think that's an important thing to acknowledge.
John, I think for the Berhalter goal, I don't think it would have mattered with the goalie. I think it would have mattered that the ball moved a couple inches to the maybe like a foot to the right rather than where it was originally. Like the ball was moved from where it was originally. I don't know about the whole goalie thing, but I think going back to it, you could absolutely say maybe, hey, let's bring it back a foot here, Sebastian, because he did move the ball from the original kick. Obviously, it was stopped, and then the second time, because the broadcast showed it, and they're like, let's look at it. Yeah, and it moved. So maybe that. I don't think about the goalkeeper or anything, but definitely the fact that the ball moved a foot to the right.
I agree. And again, the reason why I say this is that if we're talking about what happens in 7 months, and you're in a game where there's VAR and you're in a game where things are reviewable, the goals we saw last night, and it can go both ways, right?
So they would have won 4-1 as opposed to 5-1.
No. I mean, it's the first goal of the game, right? And you can't sit here and say that they would score 4 goals if they didn't score that goal there. I don't. Again, there's things start to happen, but no. I mean, if it was the 5th goal, I wouldn't even have this conversation. But it was the first goal, and VAR does matter in soccer in today's world because it takes goals away and it awards goals and it gives penalties and it takes away penalties. It does all those things, and that will be a factor come here in June of next year. Again, I'm not going to be downer. Just saying that last night was. I always say this. I say this a lot when it comes to mid-majors playing against like powerhouse, Power 5 school, Power 4 schools, right? Like the Power 4 school is supposed to win, and a lot of times in order for that team to win, the mid-major team for them to win, the other team has to have an off night. That's what has to happen, right? It's not like both teams are on and the mid-major is going to win. That's not supposed to happen, So when a team comes in that's lesser than, you have to do more than the other team in order to win that game, and that means the other team also has to have an off night. Was Uruguay off last night? I'll tell you this: at halftime, the U.S. men's national team backups were on the field warming up during the entire halftime break. Uruguay had no players out there. Matter of fact, the U.S. men's national team was on the field, was lined up, ready to go with the referees at midfield, and Uruguay hadn't come out of the locker room yet. They were probably getting obliterated in the locker room by their coach. Probably just getting, just beat up. I would have loved to have been in that locker room at that halftime break because they were legitimately nowhere to be found. I almost felt like they got in the bus and left because that's how embarrassed they were in that first half. I wouldn't have surprised me. Like, yep, Uruguay's gone home. This game is over. That's what it was like. And so when they show up in the second half, you're kind of like, okay, And again, we scored. We took our foot off the gas a little bit in the second half, and we obviously scored 1 goal, which was assisted by Gio Reyna and put in by Testament, his first career goal, as well. I just don't want us to lose I think we can be excited about this victory. I just don't want us to lose sight of the fact that it was a game in which I don't know if we could put a lot of stake in the fact that what it means for this team in totality.
Ryan, you remember that meme of Russell Westbrook when the reporter asked him, "Did you guys?"
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
What was it? Yeah, did you guys lose tonight or did Utah win or something like that?
What are you talking
And
about?
he's like, "What? What is that? What does that even mean?" I feel like that's that's kind of along the lines of what we're talking about right now, because the only reason why I say that is you have to look back, right? Like, how have we closed out 2025? When we went into the Nations League and specifically after we lost to Canada, like, American fans were just begging for this team to win a game, one game, not like a stretch of games, win a game against a somewhat competitive team, right? Guatemala didn't fit that description. Haiti certainly didn't fit that description. The only team that we played that had a pulse since the Nations League was Mexico in the final, and obviously we lost that game. And so coming out of the Gold Cup, the understanding was that the United States could not beat a top 30 team. And they can't beat teams that are worth their weight in anything. And you look at the last 5 games, right? Japan, 2-0. I understand that they were missing players, okay? Yeah, well, there it is. Ecuador, okay, drew with Ecuador, fine. Beat Australia, World Cup team. Beat Paraguay, World Cup team. Beat Uruguay, who, by the way, just made the World Cup for the 15th time in their country's history. I know they have a World Cup. I know that was a long time ago, but 15 times they have been in this tournament. 5 straight games in the top 40. And I think, a decade ago was the last time that they've done that. So this isn't just a one-off game. Like, normally I would agree with you and be like, yeah, maybe you have a good point. Maybe Ecuador was just off a little bit. But this is a trend now. This isn't just a one-off, in my opinion. And it's funny because they actually asked Mauricio Pochettino this yesterday in the post-game presser, and we always see this, especially after these international friendlies. Like, what has been the main talking point? Well, the other team didn't have all their players. Well, we didn't have all of our players. So you really can't read too far into what we just saw out on the field. And Poach goes, quote, "It's so disrespectful. It's disrespectful because we need to give credit to all the guys that today were involved, and Paraguay too." And he's very impassioned about it. And I know it probably plays somewhat of a role, but it matters that they're winning. It matters that they're winning consistently, and it matters that they're beating the countries that they are, and that they haven't done this in a decade, and they haven't scored 5 goals against a South American team in 112 years of this game being played in this country. That those are trends. Those aren't just one-offs, right? So unless we think that the coincidence just happened 5 times in a row. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, is that these wins, I think, do hold a little bit of weight, especially when you're not playing another one going into 26. This is it for 25. And it needed to be this way for this team.
I also forgot to mention, because I thought of it before the game. I was like, Bielsa, that name sounds so familiar. And I was trying to wonder who it was. And I forgot he managed Leeds back in the day. And I thought maybe Pochettino, that kind of overlapped. But these two have a really deep history that I didn't even realize before reading coming into the game. And Bielsa's like Pochettino's mentor, based on what I was reading, in terms of, when Pochettino was a player, and then they managed against each other a couple of times in La Liga, and then they never played each other, or they never managed against each other when he was at Tottenham and when he was at Leeds. I think Pochettino was gone by the time when Leeds came up, and they've managed each other for 4 times, and sometimes you see kind of the mentor the student take it to the mentor. We've seen that a couple of times. In my case, it's Arteta versus Pep Guardiola. We started to see it kind of flip a little bit in terms of that. So Pochettino, even with a weaker squad, if you want to, we'll call it as it is, it's a weaker squad compared to normal. He knows a little bit more of the ins and outs of Bielsa's teams. He understands what's going on, and I just thought personally that the U.S. just took it to him. They were aggressive. The slide tackle from Tillman to set up the 3rd goal, I think it was, for Freeman.
The Luna goal. Is it the Luna goal that's good, or is it?
No, it was the Freeman goal where he beat a couple defenders and then it deflected in. Not the Luna one. Yeah. But no, so that definitely plays a factor, and I think Pochettino may have took the game a little bit more personal than you would think, just because he wanted to prove his mentor wrong. And by the way, there is a photo in this article that I was reading from The Athletic that shows of Pochettino when he was playing for Argentina. Dude had a ponytail. Like, dude had a long ponytail. Like, I don't know what Pochettino was doing back in the day in terms of his hairstyle. But anyway, so I thought this was a little bit of this game meant a little bit more to Pochettino. I would say maybe he addressed it to his players, and whatever he said about maybe addressing it to him, he made sure that the players did their part of getting Pochettino his victory against his old mentor.
Yeah, and this is why I said in totality, I don't know how much this how much this means or what this might mean for this team come June. And I don't want to take away from the victory because they won yesterday, and a win is a win. All that I'm saying is being there, and I've been obviously down to 2 games in the last couple of months, and watching this team from afar, is that while we've talked about this too, that winning right now is yeah, we all want to win. Is that the important part of what November and October are all about? I think we talked about how in October that window was important for the U.S. men's national team to have success, and November was more about, again, I think finding, for me, evaluating players, right? And now, hey, like players like Berhalter, who we are like, hey, is this player, is this someone that's gonna make this roster or not, right? I mean, did he give himself a chance last night to be on this roster based on that goal last night and how he played? Luna, right? The question mark players that we keep talking about, they're giving themselves really good reasons to be on this team come June. And you talked about depth. It's a great point, right? Gio Reyna, right? Is Gio Reyna done enough in this window to be in the conversation, to have earned a spot on the 26th? I think we're still trying to figure that out. I think January would be a telltale sign for us. I also think with the draw coming up here in a few weeks, that might also determine how we select our team. You know what I mean? I think if we have a safer, if we have a somewhat easier group, I think we might see some players on this team that maybe we wouldn't see if we were in a different group. I think Pochettino might actually be selective about how especially if our group is like a group of depth, and versus where maybe we have a little bit more of an easier path. To talk about the pods and how we might be, that might change how we select players and how we don't. But again, I just, in the totality of what we've seen, or what could look like here in June of this upcoming year, I don't know how much a 5-1 victory over Uruguay in November is going to make or break this team in June. That was my only perspective on this.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I mean, it's one game, right? Like, obviously you can't take a bunch of things away from just one match, but that's why we're talking about the importance of what happened last night. Like, and everything that led up to it too. Like the last couple of windows have just been really, I think, indicative of the progress that we're making. And again, I try my best on this show not to just wave the pom-poms. Like, I understand it. Like, we have to have this good mix of being critical, of thinking critically about these things, but also being willing to celebrate progress. Because I think that's something that we have to be willing, as, and you talked about it once upon a time too, after the North American Soccer Expo, and Alexi Lalas and his conversation, just about, American fans just being willing to just kind of sit back and celebrate exactly what it is that we're doing right now. And I think that with what we saw last night, I think that is indicative of what we can expect in the future. I think it is. The only way you can tell what's going to happen in the future is by looking back.
Win over a 5-1 win is what we can expect, or just a win.
The way they won, I think that's indicative of the progress they're making.
Yeah, I that's where my coaching background. That's not an indicator at all.
What is what?
Yeah, not even.
No,
not
go
even, I would
ahead.
not use that as an indicator. No, I'm just saying that I would not use that as an indicator. Them winning, that's the indicator. But the manner in which they won last night, Uruguay was asleep at the wheel last night. They were asleep at the wheel. They were literally like I don't know. They were like standing still. They were not in that game at all. And so the U.S. men's national team took advantage of that, absolutely, as they should. But I can't look at that 5-1 victory and go, my God, man, that is how the USA is going to move forward, going to be winning some soccer games. That's not it. That's not their identity. It's never been their identity. And so last night, I take that win for what it was. It's a win. It's a great win to build upon. And yeah, history is meant to be broken, and record meant to be broken. Think that's great. But at the end of the day, U.S. men's national team victory last night, 5-1, means nothing. It means nothing. It's a friendly. It's a scrimmage. It means nothing. These games don't mean anything. What we're trying to do is evaluate players. They mean nothing. Well, I mean, they do. I mean, when we go into in competitions that actually mean something, what do we do with them? And these games, they help prepare us for that. But the actual measuring stick isn't what we did against Uruguay on November the 18th, 2025. It's what we do against Panama in the World Cup or in Copa America or in Nations League. These actual competitions that matter. And while last night, win helps us evaluate players and determine where we are as far as a nation, it doesn't mean we've pushed the needle any further. It just means that we found a way to win against a team that played like shit last night. And I'm okay with that. I told you I want decisive wins, but I don't look at that decisive win and go, man, we are in a much better place today than we were yesterday. No, I think we're in a good place. I think we've had a good window. The last 3 windows, we've had good windows. It's just now, what do we do with that? How do we handle that? What do we do? I mean, and I that's the area that the U.S. men's national team has struggled in, is how do we manage the important game, not the, I mean, last night's game was irrelevant in the whole scheme of things, and I think that's an important thing for us to acknowledge. It's not me being Debbie Downer, it's just me being realistic about the fact that we played against a team last night that fell asleep the entire game. They were terrible. Uruguay would never play. That was the worst game I've ever seen Uruguay play ever. So, and it wasn't because U.S. men's national team was that much better than them. No, it's just that U.S. men's national team took advantage of playing against a bad team last night, which is great because we haven't done a lot of that.
I wanted to quickly
coming in from Mexico. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I just wanted to
quick
give a shout out to Curacao making their first ever World Cup. So congratulations to the Blue Wave, just a population of 150,000. For reference, by the way, that's half
the
the
World
size.
Cup.
Yeah, Curacao made the World Cup.
Yeah.
They're half the size of Grand Rapids, Michigan. I also wanted to say congrats to Haiti. They made the World Cup, first time in half a century that Haiti has been in the World Cup. Also, Scotland made the World Cup off of a goal in added time.
Kieran Tierney, that dog. It's always been
Celtic.
good. It's always
Celtic countries, man, between Ireland and Scotland doing it in added time. So congrats to all those guys on making the World Cup. Just wanted to fit that in the mix. But Ryan, if you have any thoughts on the U.S., go ahead. You got the floor.
I would say, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, the friendlies don't matter. All I cared about in these, September, October, and November windows is if we could start to identify the players that we need for the World Cup, identify if a player like Diego Luna, don't get me wrong, like these wins make me feel good. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like these wins make me feel good, and I do think that there is a little bit to take out of all these wins. I think that our 3-back system with the wing backs, whatever we use, it's 3-4-3 or 3 whatever they did on, I forgot the exact formation where they had Rain and Aronson underneath Haji Wright. I think they found something in terms of the 3-back. I'm not saying that I'm not saying like we're gonna go win the World Cup, even though on social media I said we were going to for the first 15 seconds and people were laughing at me. But I think they saw the first couple words and then they realized it's like, oh, let's calm down a little bit. But no, I think there's something to take away with the wins, and I think Mekjak mentioned here in the chat, he goes, winning becomes a habit, and friendlies matter a little bit. And I think winning as a group here is going to start to matter. I think it's going to start to become a habit because that's what they're expecting now, because they're going, whether you want to say, because Japan, they didn't play all their big guys in the first half. They didn't. And then if you want to say Uruguay didn't play all their big players, you can make that argument. But at the same time, in both of those games, the U.S. didn't start all their big guys. So I think they're finding ways to win, and it's fine. But I also think that the way that they've kind of had a little bit of a structure here, they kind of have a little bit of an identity of the 3-back with the 4 midfielders, 3 up top, whatever it is. I think you can take a little bit out of that because they're sticking to one formation. Now, if you said that they were changing formation game after game, every game looked different, then you could say a little bit, you could take something out of that and say, like, I don't really know the identity. But the last couple of games, you've kind of seen a little bit of an identity in terms of the formation, the style of which they're playing, getting their attack, their fullbacks up the field. Look at Serginho Dest last night. I thought he was thought he was really good too, especially going forward. So I think that an identity is starting to form. Now we need to really see it in the competitive game because we don't have the World Cup qualifiers because we're hosting the damn thing, so we're already qualified. I want to see us in a competitive environment like I would have liked in the Gold Cup, what I would have liked in Copa America if we had Pochettino. But you can kind of start to feel an identity starting to form, and it's good to see.
Yeah, consistency and winning are learned behaviors. And you have to learn that through these international friendlies. You have to learn how to win at a high level to do it at a consistent level. And I was listening to Marcus Beasley yesterday talk about this men's national team, and he mentioned that it's the best he's seen them play in years and years and years and years of covering this team, and even going back to his playing days. Those are the things that we're looking at. And when it becomes an expectation, you're right. That is contagious. That is absolutely contagious for it to contagious.
Jarvis Landry.
But that's a good reference. Good pull there, Ryan. But that's something that's very important. Do we win anything? Do we bring some hardware home for winning an international friendly against Uruguay? No, we don't. We don't win anything. But it's teaching. These guys are learning how to win at a high level. I also think it's worth noting that Mexico didn't score against them too. So Mexico just lost last night as well against Paraguay. So they're kind of going through it right now. But yeah, I think winning matters. Winning absolutely matters when it comes to building momentum in the right direction. It absolutely does. And I think it's easy to just say they didn't have all their best players or they were having an off night. That's okay, fair, but. Just saying, it does matter in the long run.
Yeah, no, guys, I don't think I ever say winning doesn't matter. My perspective on this, which again is we're in preseason mode right now. This is the preseason, and we can talk all day long about these wins and friendlies. And I've told you before that I don't care so much about winning these games. Winning's a byproduct of playing well, right? You can also lose by playing well. Right, they're close games you can lose. These players all come from winning environments, so these players are not used to winning. They're all playing on teams that are winning soccer games, winning championships, fighting for tournament championships. May not be on this international stage, but they're all playing in winning environments, right? And so I don't think they need to learn how to win. I think what they need to learn is they have to figure out their identity, which I know, Ryan, you were alluding to, but I don't believe for 1 second this team will have a 3-back system come World Cup time. And not because I don't think that they can do it, but in the international friendly land where teams are who have already made the World Cup or teams who are not bringing their entire teams, you can play around with your formations. But when you're playing against the best teams in the world and you're going to go with a 3-back system, I don't think our team could handle that. I think we'll go back to a 4-back system come World Cup time because in order for us to be competitive, we have to be able to defend. And an area we struggle is self-inflicted wounds. Well, we give the ball away, make bad decisions defensively.
Yeah.
We almost did it a couple times last night. And that's, to be fair, is our identity as a defensive unit in U.S. men's national soccer history is self-inflicted. Just give the ball to them and they go score a goal on us. And we're just like, what just happened? And like that bicycle kick last night, it was a self-inflicted wound, right? Matt Freese doesn't come up to the ball, get it right. It comes back across the box. This guy heads it up in the air and then a bicycle kick. It's like, what the hell was that, right? We're all like, what just happened? But that, to be fair, is the identity of this U.S. men's national team. It's been that way for a long time. They are moving the ball well, very well. They are making great decisions on the attacking side of the ball. I love what we're seeing from them in that perspective. I also think it's important to acknowledge the fact that the things that we're seeing in these games, we're not going to see in the World Cup. Teams are not going to allow the U.S. men's national team to do 1v1 out wide and let players just fall on the ground. That's not going to happen. We're never going to see it that way. And so I think it's important to acknowledge that while we are playing better, the teams that we're playing against aren't playing very good. And why is that? Well, is it because they don't have the good players? Is it because they don't care? What is I don't know what the reason is, but just because U.S. men's national have had some success here in the last few windows, I don't know if we can say, well, man, we're in a great spot come World Cup time, because I'm watching these teams they're playing, and they're not playing very hard. We are playing for something, and they are not. And I think that's an important thing to look at. And we can talk about winning becomes a habit, and I think that is true. But I think how you handle yourself and how you play those habits will instill again, because you can't control Unfortunately, as much as I want to go out and win every soccer game I ever played in, I couldn't do that. Right? There's going to be a moment where you're going to lose a game, even if you played the best soccer, and so, or the referee made a stupid call, or whatever it might be. We had some crazy shit happen in our days, and so the only thing you can do is just how you prepare for games in training and in practice, and you have that winning preparation mentality, and the likelihood of you winning is obviously a much higher percentage than losing. And so, McJack says, does Jonathan think the U.S. makes it out of the group round? It depends. I've said before that I don't know if this team makes it out of the group round based on what we were seeing, especially leading up into that September window. And I've seen some positive things in the October, November window. But again, there's some missing pieces here. We obviously still don't have our best players. We still haven't really seen how those players are going to mesh together. We're seeing a bunch of players who are fighting for a spot on this team, who are fighting to live another day, giving it their all. And they're having success. But I'm not going to see Diego Luna starting World Cup games in June. We're not going to see Sebastian Berhalter starting World Cup game come June. If Berhalter's on this roster, he's 19.
We're
He's
cooked.
18.
We're cooked.
So I'm just saying that the players like Freeman, right? He got 2 goals last night. Does Freeman start on this roster in 2026 in the World Cup?
No.
Right? And so we're seeing players who aren't going to be starting. But what does it mean? It means that we have some depth there. It means that we have, but Alex Freeman is fighting for another day. There's something to be said about that. That's the underdog mentality. They're fighting to be on this roster. Would I see the same thing from Christian Pulisic last night, fighting like hell like that? Would I see the same thing from a Malik Tillman? I mean, from an Adams? Would I see the same fight? We're seeing it from players who are currently fighting for a roster spot. And I think that's an important thing to acknowledge because that mentality is tremendously different if a player who's already on the roster, who's not playing in the game. And that concerns me. Are we going to have this same level of fight? This fight that we're talking about, is that going to be there come June?
Yeah.
We don't.
To your point, John, I was going to ask the question here, but you kind of answered it yourself. If Pulisic and all them, McKennie, Adams, Richards, whoever you want to throw in that mix, I think everyone's opinion would be a little bit different if what we saw last night was Pulisic, McKennie, Adams, all those different guys. And I think you're right on the terms of, those guys, Freeman, Luna, all those guys, whatever you want to say, they're all fighting to make the roster. They're all fighting to make another day, meaning they're fighting to make another window, barring injury or anything. If everyone's healthy, that's what they're fighting for. I think that if this was a Pulisic, if this was an Adams, if this was McKennie, I think we'd have a little bit of a different conversation in terms of the way that it looked. I think if we had those guys, and if those players, which we have seen before, don't have the same fight, if those players, our best players, are not showing the fight that we saw the last couple of games and the last couple of windows, that these, you could say the B team, whatever you want to say it, the depth pieces are showing. If they don't have that, then I think we're cooked. I think we're as a nation, we're cooked. If those players, our best players, are not showing that fight. And if those, let's just say though, for hypotheticals, if our big players, Pulisic, all those guys, show the same fight that those depth players showed, I think we can 100% get out of the group. I think that is 100% capable of getting out of the group. But as Jarvis Landry said, it's contagious. It's contagious.
It is.
And if that can all translate to them, I think they could go to a quarterfinal if that's the case, because that's our best players.
And it should be shared too. I mean, this should be a shared mentality, and I think it is a shared mentality. I don't think just because someone that is already kind of guaranteed a spot on the squad, and we know who those players are, I don't think they don't carry that same mentality. I think they do. But you're right. It is fun to watch the young guys go out and play hard. The other thing that I'll mention is that Uruguay's starting 11 last night was a lot closer to their starting 11 than their actual starting 11 than what it was against Mexico. So to see a bunch of MLS dudes run them off the field like that, I don't know. I think that should be a ringing endorsement for the U.S. men's national team in the way that they coached and the way that they played. If they had an off game, I get it. But, I mean, That's all I'm saying. So, but you know,
No,
I do
it's just
think.
like that movie, The Replacements, right? Remember The Replacements with Keanu Reeves? Remember that
Mhm,
whole thing? Remember, you
mhm.
got the all stars out there playing against the ragtag, replacement guys it's like it's again that's kind of like what that is. There's this mentality of a player who is hungry compared to a person that's already been fed, right? You're full, right? I'm telling you that mentality is different. And to be fair, that's the reason why Diego Luna makes this team. Like that's the reason we make this team come June because of that right there, that intangible that you're not going to get. I don't think you're ever going to get that from a Pulisic. I mean, he might be hungry to win a World Cup, but I don't. Again, Diego Luna has nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that mentality is, and I know that you're a huge fan of the underdog, and so I think we all are. I think we all root for the Rudy
Except
and the
Indiana.
underdog
Screw
player,
them.
except Indiana.
Hate
But
them.
but we look at this environment where you're fighting for that next chance, that next step. I mean, you know, with Reyna back in the mix, I actually argue that probably maybe pissed off a lot of the guys that have been there, like the Lunas, right? They're a little pissed. They're like, hey, we've been here now. What does this do? What are we doing here, Poach? What are we doing? Why is Reyna here? I thought this was my spot. I mean, he has more appearances. Luna does than any other player right now in this last year. He's got 16 appearances in the last than any other player. And so Luna is. I think Poach is not just he's a smart coach. He's bringing players in who maybe are going to test the players who are fighting hard to see how hard they might fight, how much hard they can fight to get into this team. And so maybe that's a reason we're seeing Reyna as well right now is to kind of create this inner battle because if our U.S. men's national team with our best players can play like that, like we saw last night in the World Cup, I could argue we could get over to a semifinal.
Yeah.
The way we played, you know what I mean? Like the way that we
Yeah.
went after this team last night with no fear, the way we scored goals. I mean, again, we were all sitting there in the stands going, this game could be like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, nothing.
Yeah.
There was a substitution in the 67th minute. The whole crowd was going like this. I mean, you know,
But Mick Check in the chat says the U.S. has nothing. The whole U.S. men's national team has nothing to lose going into the World Cup. If they think like that, I think they can go far.
No, I mean they have nothing to lose. Again, this is on American soil. There is now U.S. soccer, maybe the U.S. men's national team, but U.S. soccer absolutely has everything to lose. I mean, let's be honest. I mean,
Yeah, if you put it that
hosting
way,
this
yeah.
damn thing. Maybe the team itself does, but U.S. soccer can lose everything. If this team comes out and shits the bed, if we overthink it, if we underwork it, if we, whatever you want to call it, look past one game or one opponent, and we shit the bed and we don't make out of a group play, that would be a complete and utter disappointment.
I think what he means by
And
nothing
everyone
to
should be fired.
lose. I think what he means by nothing to lose is that they no one expects them to do anything. Like no one expects them to go far. No one expects them to get out of the group.
Yeah, that's what Mick
It's on
Check
the world
clarified.
stage. That's what he means. Like no one expects them to get that far. That's what he means by they have nothing to lose. And it's why I always think like, in terms of a mentality perspective, yeah, Christian Pulisic might not show it in the same way that Diego Luna does, but I think anybody that's wearing that uniform is keenly aware of where they stand on the world stage and where the world thinks they stand and what this tournament means. I think they're all very hungry. Now, are they going to play as hard in a friendly? No, clearly not, because they're not fighting for a spot. So you're right there. But I think they're all kind of uniquely aware of their situation and what the world thinks of them and what the world thinks of this country and our ability to play the sport and everything going into that tournament and how just doing well, right? Just making it out, making a quarterfinal, making a semifinal could change everything. I think they're all uniquely aware of that. And I think that's kind of the rallying cry right now.
Yeah, no, and that's why again I keep going back to as big of a win as this was yesterday, and it's a huge thing for us to look at as a soccer nation, and say, look how far we've come, that we can win decisively even with our less than team over an opponent that is better than us, and be so decisive in that. And at the same time, take away from the fact that we were doing it obviously with the players that are not normally on the field. We're 7 months away from the World Cup, and we're doing it with players who might not be on this roster. And so I think all those things combined help us have an understanding that we are in a good place. We are not in as bad of a place as we thought we were maybe back at the end of the summer, right? We really, we think we were all sitting here questioning what we were doing. And I think we all were sitting at that point going, man, this team's not going to get out of the group stage if they play like this.
Yeah.
You know, they're not. And I think now we can sit here and say, honestly, you know, that there's a very good chance we make it out of group play, depending upon how that draw goes. And we can make ourselves into a quarterfinal, maybe even further. The thing that scares me is we're not seeing with our best team yet. I would love to see our best team out there. I would love, and hopefully in January and February, we're going to see our best team on the pitch, our quote unquote starting 11, to see how they perform, because that's the team that has not performed well, right? The team that has underperformed has been our best team, and that has been, I think that when DeMarcus Beasley says, I haven't seen a team like this. Well, yeah, because the team that you're seeing right now is a bunch of ragtag nobodies who are fighting for another day, and the ones who are already there, the somebodies, aren't doing anything. And so we need to see the somebodies do something, and hopefully we'll see that here pretty quickly.
Did you read are you reading if every player was playing for the United States, or was playing in terms of the passion and all that fun stuff, Mekjek gets 1980 men's hockey vibes. Hey, if we could take down a France, an England, or a Spain, sure. Then yeah, absolutely we could get that. But he also mentions that he's never seen Pulisic kiss the or pull the logo the way Berhalter did. Has he? He surely has.
I think he's had
he mainly just does it to Mexico. Like he does.
Yeah,
like
you
he
remember
did the
man in the mirror? The man in the mirror. Yeah, that was really good. Yeah.
Shushed him.
Yeah.
No, my man's had his moments for sure.
All right, question of the day.
By the way, I do get the same vibes. By the way, I do get those vibes. I think that again, that when you have a bunch of players, and look at Haiti for example. I mean, Haiti doesn't have a stadium. They're like playing on a away turf, and they're winning, getting qualified, which is an amazing thing, right? There's something to be said about players, human beings, up against the wall, adversity in their face, going out there and making shit happen. And I absolutely would love to see a squad like that. I wish we could have two U.S. teams to see how one, almost like have USA 1, USA 2 all in the same World Cup and see how they would play. Because to be fair, that'd be actually a fun thing to watch. And that would be like, here's your A team over here, and your B team is killing it, right? It's like, but anyways, I think it would be really cool. But yeah, get your question of the day in there.
Real quick, do you think Pochettino's having them spraying? He's like, who do you play for? And Pulisic's like,
suicides.
Hershey, Pennsylvania. United States men's national team.
USL Championship side, Tampa Bay Rowdies. No, USA. Anyways, sorry.
I play for AC Milan. Again. All right, a lot of movie quotes today. Anyway.
Roll.
Salt Athletic is an official sponsor of us here at the National Soccer Network. Use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off of that order of the #1 smell-proof cleat bag that 100% works. Visit saltathletic.com today or scan that QR code on your screen. But question of the day. Have your expectations with the men's national team for the World Cup changed after these previous windows?
Absolutely. I think the bar has been raised, in my personal opinion. I think the bar has been raised. I think when you have a game like that last night against Uruguay, again, without our top players, as we've talked about, and I do think there is something to be said about that. And you saw the post going into the game about how Poach is setting us up to get smoked, this, that, or the other thing. We didn't. We won 5-1. Like, it was the nuttiest thing I've ever seen in my life. The expectations have changed because they've proven that they can beat World Cup teams consistently. They did that. Again, the biggest question coming into all these windows was, can they win? They've proven that, yes, they can win. Okay, can they show us some fight? Yes, they absolutely showed us some fight. so many things that they've been able to really show us in this window. And again, what it means in the long run. And I do think that's a good point on JT's part is when we get the big dogs back, what does it look like then? Like, do they still play with the same hunger? Do they still play with the same edge? But I think they've done everything that they possibly could do correctly over the only continue to get better. But if you were to add just the simple question of did they raise the bar? I absolutely think they did. And I absolutely think they did it just last night alone, let alone what they've done in the last handful of matches. But I think they did raise the bar. And they raised the bar for those guys that aren't on the team right now, that are going to come back and join the team. Like, this is what we were able to do against a top 15 side who, mind you, is very close to their starting 11. Wasn't exactly their starting 11, but they had a lot of great players out there. This is what our group of MLS players were able to do against one of the better top South American teams in the world. What can we do with the likes of Christian Pulisic and Malik Tillman and everybody back on this roster that we know is probably going to be on that 26 World Cup roster? So I think they raised the bar. At the very least, I think they did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if my expectations have changed. I think I'm still undecided about expectations in regards to what's going to be happening. I don't have enough of the somebodies, as we talked about, this our main core, to evaluate whether or not the expectations have gone to a new level or they're at where they are, maybe even below. Again, because when we talk about these games that they played, again, we have players like Sebastian Berhalter and Diego Luna, and these players who are more than likely not going to be starting on this team come June, and would be arguably in somewhere from 12 to 18, right? Maybe even 19 through 26. And so the wins that we're getting, while they are great, I don't know if we're going to see the same type of energy, passion that I'm seeing from Diego Luna from an Aronson. Am I going to see the same passion from Pulisic? I don't know. I haven't seen it, and the body of work we have had seen from our top team has not been great. There have been a lot of question marks. And so I want to see. So for me, in this next window, in January and February, we need to see our best team on the field. We need to see that. We need to see what we're right now. It's kind of like this. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but we have like this team that we see an identity of our backups intermixed with some of our starters. But what is our identity with our entire team, who is our A team?
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? Because right now we haven't seen that in some time. And what's it going to look like come February, come March, come April? And that will tell me. And so in January and February, I want to see our A team. I want to see our best team on the field. And I want to see if we drop off at all. What does that look like? Do we win games the same way we're winning them now? There's scrappy victories. There's this as you talk about this scrappiness about our B team, our backups right now, that have this fight in them that is awesome. But are we going to see the exact same scrappiness with our A team? And I'm curious about that. But if you're telling me, do I feel good about our depth? I absolutely do. Because I know right now that if I put Diego Luna on the pitch, he's going to go out there and kill some people. In a good way. We're going to see Berhalter. At least I can see that Berhalter is going to go out there and fight like hell. Those are the things that I think have increased our expectations.
So my expectation is a quarterfinal, and that hasn't changed. That these windows haven't done anything. Back to the getting out of the group, I forgot. You can finish third place and get out of the group. I think we're 100% getting out of the group unless we're in a group of death and finish fourth. But you're telling me that we have to just be better than 16 teams. That's in I'm sorry, we're better than Haiti, we're better than Curacao, we're better than Tajikistan or whatever some of these other countries are. Which I don't think expanding the World Cup's a good thing. We can talk about that another day. Sorry, Nate, we're also better than Ireland. I'm sorry, Nate. Don't want to burst your bubble. They're not even in the World Cup yet. But all I'm saying is we're 100% getting out of the group because we would get into the round of 32. Now, from there is round of 32. I think we could still get a favorable matchup, get through to the round of 16. But once we get to the round of 16, things change a little bit. But I think we're 100% getting out of the group. I forgot about the expanded field, but my expectations have not changed one bit yet. My expectation is still get to a quarterfinal. They haven't proven anything that they could go further. They also haven't proven anything that they could get bounced in the group stage, which is like the floor at this point. So I think they're still kind of just right there. They're still right there, right in the mix. There's still nothing has changed in terms of the bar yet. Now, if the Pulisic's of the world, the McKennies, and all our starting lineup did this against Uruguay, then things may have changed a little bit. But we didn't see that from them. So, no, my expectations have not changed at all. But we are 100% getting out of the group unless we get put in the group of death. I'm putting it out there right now because all we have to do is finish third and be better than 16 teams.
Well, there you go. You heard it from Ryan.
Yep.
We're going all the way to the quarterfinals.
We're winning the World Cup.
Again, I would love every bit of it. I think it'd be the greatest thing in my lifetime to be a part of outside of the Detroit Lions winning a Super Bowl. I think those two are pretty close to each other. But just because of the local aspect of it. But yeah, I would love to see that happen. I would love to see it happen. And so, yeah, but time will tell. Great last couple windows. U.S. men's national team are on a roll. Let's see if it can continue here into the new year and get them ready for what's to be an exciting World Cup. But that does wrap up number 193 here on this Wednesday morning. That is Nathan Wangler. I'm Ryan Glinski, our producer. We'll be back at it tomorrow. I'll be back in Michigan here tomorrow morning. Well, we'll continue inside the game here. Don't forget to subscribe, like us, share it to your friends and family. Come back each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on Inside the Game.
From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.